Hey everybody, Mr. Cageco here. We have the coffee cup. We may proceed. So I'm here today, right now. This is my hunting gear. This is what I wore most of hunting season once the snow showed up. And of course with camouflage, shine, shadow, shape, and movement. So, I have white coveralls on. Okay, full length white coveralls. This jacket is a raincoat. This is a winter camouflage raincoat. And I'm hoping it shows up in the video because that's why I'm standing in the sun. There's a bit of shine that comes off it. Don't worry about it. But be really aware of it because it's important. Now, I have my moccasins on. Okay, nice, soft, warm, comfortable. Okay, quiet. Very quiet. Very quiet. I can feel the ground underneath me. If I can feel a twig before it breaks, that's awesome. I can move around, and I leave very little footprint. I have my knee pads. Why? So my knees don't get cold if I have to crouch down and stay low. They don't get cold, they don't get wet. They don't get hurt on a sharp stick or a rock. Okay? If I bang up against a bumper of a truck walking through the yard, or and this happens, a big stick comes flying up because you stepped on it wrong, you didn't know it was coming, or it broke or whatever. Ow! No. Protection. And guess what? It's breakup. Those are 3 different colors. And in the bush, okay, even though yes, it's white on the ground, the snow and the bumpy terrain and things like rocks or logs that may be covered in snow help hide those lower, darker colors, and everything blends in. And as you can see, as I go along, I'm blending well into the bush, easily hidden behind even the slightest, smallest twigs and trees, and still working in with the snow and the other colors. And that's what's important for camouflage. The biggest thing about camouflage is, who are you fooling? This is my hunting gear. I'm trying to fool animals. It's harder to fool animals than it is people. True story. Animals see a different spectrum than we do. They see movement differently than we do. They see colors, and they can smell things that we would never even know were there. They can hear like you can't believe, and they can hear through the trees stuff that would camouflage us, stuff that would just go over our heads from 10 feet away or 100 yards away. An animal, especially deer and moose and elk, bears, etc., they got those big ears. Well, guess what? They can outsee us, they can outsmell us, they can outhear us, they can outmove us. Any wild animal can go through the bush quietly, quickly. You wouldn't even know it's there. For us, different story. So if we're hiding on animals and we're hunting, the biggest thing is concealment. You want to be able to move through the bush, get to where you're going, track, do all those things. But when you're close to the animals, you want to make sure they can't see you, they can't hear you, they can't smell you. And how do you do that? You stay still, and you stay down away from the wind so that it's not going towards them, etc., etc. When you're fooling people, unless you're fooling the highest trained people or the highest experienced people, it's a lot easier. So my hunting gear is designed to fit into my terrain. And these colors, these breakups, work. You have to fit into your terrain. The whole thing about camouflage is where you are. There's all kinds of commercial camouflage out there. We call it Gucci Cam. It's your real tree. It's your maple and all those things. You know what I'm talking about. And there's different military camos. Look, they all have their place and they all work. And they can all be fitted into your terrain. You've got to know how to use them. That's the biggest thing. Practice. So let's go on now and let's talk about my hunting gear. I want to be able to move through the bush, stay quiet, know what's around me, find tracks, find an animal, track down, get the animal I want, harvest it, put it in the freezer. Basically, it doesn't matter what time of year it is or where you are. The biggest thing you have to do is blend into your surroundings. So, best way to do that is a combination of things you can buy in the store and things that appear in nature in the area where you are that you're trying to hide in. Here's an example. So, I want to be able to see through up high where I can hide behind it. So, I can see through really well. And have coverage for my face when I put the gun up to shoot. What is really nice about things you can buy in the store is that they'll last for a really long time, whereas the things that you find in nature don't. It's good to have a base made out of materials that you can add to with the natural foliage and fit into your surroundings. Now, you can hide your movement, you can hide your shape, you can do a lot of things. And you can move around quickly, quietly, and then be able to stop and be absolutely hidden. Once you have your camouflage set up in a way that you are basically hidden amongst the terrain around you and you fit into it, the next thing you have to take into account is how your camouflage works with or against you. As you see there, I just got snagged on a branch. But you are able to move around and then crouch down and hide, or whatever the situation may be. Minimal movement is something you can still get away with as long as you're using your camouflage and your terrain together. So this is something I made up, this head veil, and you have to think outside the box with your camouflage, okay? It's great having all the materials and all the products and all the things that are out there, but really when it comes down to it, you got to make work with what you have. So, don't laugh at my lace. Hey, it's white, it's breakup, it's coverage, I'm changing my shape, and I can see through it. I can hear through it. It's quiet. Alright? Yeah, it'll grab on a twig and that kind of stuff, but that's all part of movement, which is part of camouflage. So basically, I have these eye holes cut, and I have clear vision all around. Works really good. Cheap to make, cost me nothing. I got the materials either cheap or free at garage sales markets or just around the house, and it works. Simple enough. It's just a camouflage hat that I use year-round. It's large enough that I can get a hoodie under it, or a toque, or a full face mask, or whatever to stay warm. And I have other camouflage for other times of year, and that's why I've used snaps to connect it to the hat. Then I use just the same This is black, but I have green, white, gray. This netted material comes in different fabrics, different colors. And it's great for doing ghillie suits and other camouflage and things like that. And you can go to a dollar store and get a laundry bag that's made out of a very similar material and use it. And then of course the lace. And it's just tied on. These are just connected to each other with jute string. Okay? That's all it is. So I could repurpose this piece here into a different color for a different time of year. So it's all about camouflage, it's all about breakup. It's about shine, shadow, shape, and movement. And thinking outside the box. Here's a photograph of a ghillie suit that I made for a bow hunter a few years ago. Here's the same ghillie suit being used on the same day in the same terrain, but for a rifle. The colors don't have to be perfect as long as they're close and as long as you know how to use them. Camouflage can also be very attractive and artistic, as seen by this rifle that I painted several years ago. This pattern is an example of something that could be used in many seasons. The white would still hide in grass. Here is an example of those same white coveralls using some light material over top, so I blend into a multitude of situations. For instance, here in the bush where there's lots of exposed snow and still lots of grass. Meanwhile, out in the wide open field where it's all snow, I would still hide. Here are some pictures I took to compare camo versus regular clothes and different colors of camo, different situations, and even different lighting. Just working on ideas with materials that I have to make things work. Something that you should do too. Studying animals and watching how they hide in their environment is a great thing to do too. Other people's examples of what they've come up with, pictures on the internet, etc. So, that's video 1. I hope it helps. Please subscribe and comment. Mr. Cageco. See you later.